Hello again, ladies and gentlemen. Just so you guys are aware, this is the third time. I keep making mistakes. So, this is replacing the Sunday Storytime with Nos, because I didn't do one on Sunday. Now, I may end up doing a fourth, I'm not sure, because the mic levels on the first was very low, and mic levels on this one are quite high. The second time I just babbled a lot. I mean, those who follow me know I babble anyway. But this Monday story time is going to be number 4 in my Storytime series of videos, and this one's going to be about remakes. Specifically 2, and I may mention a third, which I think everyone will just probably sick to death of hearing about by now. But anyway, on Netflix right now, there is 2 new editions. One is Death Note, and another The Mist. The Mist based on the Stephen King novella, and Death Note based on, the anime / manga. We'll talk about Death Note first. So, as you can see, Death Note is how do I put this? The film itself, if you completely ignore the anime and the manga, you've never seen the anime and never seen the manga, the film, it's okay. It's not bad. A Final Destination-ish with the deaths, but if you've seen the anime and you've seen the manga and you're a big fan of both, don't watch this. Don't. I mean, William Dafoe voices Ryuk in a really good way. And he plays this Ryuk in a really good way. But it's not Ryuk. It's not the Death Note Ryuk. The only things this has... Sorry, I keep thinking to point that way because that's where I'm... There's there. The only thing this Death Note here has in common with Death Note is the fact that the main character is called Light. He picks up a book which is called Death Note that has a lot of fancy rules in, and it comes along with that thing there, a death god. There's no mention of Shinigami in this. I mean, it sort of makes sense because Shinigami is Japanese for death god, but this isn't a Japanese film. So much taken out of it, so much they couldn't do, obviously. Well, I don't know how obviously it is, how much they could or couldn't do, but this film was a disappointment to me. It was a disappointment, and it was alright as a standalone, never seen Death Note movie, but if you're a fan of Death Note, don't watch this. Next, The Mist. Now, The Mist in the Frank Darabont movie was essentially what, if I'm correct in saying, The Mist from the novella, which was basically a mysterious fog that housed monsters. I mean, there were some really good monsters in it too, some good death scenes, but that Mist, The Mist is something completely different. Manifests things dependent on the people to kill them. So there's no absolute oh my god creatures, which was a shame, because it's one of the things I liked about Frank Darabont's movie, apart from the tragedy, which is predictable tragedy in this. For example, the tragedy between the main characters, which you find out at the beginning. I pretty much figured out the perpetrator of the tragedy, but it doesn't tell you until like 5 or 6 episodes in. I granted it's only 10 episodes, but there is so much that they could have done without making it appear obvious. I mean, I don't know. It may not be obvious to some, but a lot of the characters were slightly twisted, obviously, to fit the narrative of the show, rather than follow along with their characters from the movie or novella, but they're mostly just annoyances. Mostly boring. You don't even see what happens to some of them. As in, the way it ends. I'm not going to spoil the ending, but the way it ends, it's implying there's going to be a second season. They haven't said anything about a second season yet. And it's just so much they could have done. I reckon it should have been more than 10 episodes for the first series. They put so much into it, it needed to be more than 10 episodes. Because I personally would rate this 3 out of 10. Because there was so much they could have done. They twisted the whole mist thing. The whole human tragedy in the mall was just next. You know, it's like, oh, look, it's a bunch of angry people. Oh, okay. Whoops. So the mist is just, if you want to waste your time, you know, if you're doing laundry or something in the living room and you put Netflix on, fair enough. It may keep you occupied for a while, but apart from that, yeah, it was all right. Last thing that I will mention, which I said that I'd probably mention, is the whole remake thing. It's as if people just don't understand how to do things right. I never paid to watch Ghostbusters 2016. I predicted its absolute appalling, absolute flop. I predicted all that the moment I first saw its first trailer. Sony removed multiple comments, critical comments, purely because of a bunch of trolls. And they went with that with their marketing. They went with the whole, oh, it's a bunch of misogynist nerds. Bunch of misogynist nerds. I ended up having to preface most of my comments with, I did not care that the cast were female. I do not care that the leading cast is female. Who honestly cared? Yeah? Who honestly gave a shit that the leading cast from 2016's Ghostbusters was female? If they honestly wanted to do it better, they could have gone with what happened in the animation by turning it into a men and woman thing. But all they did, and I know a lot of my friends disagree with me on this, all they did was turn Scooby-Doo into Ghostbusters. They took Scooby-Doo and put a Ghostbusters mask on it. They took out all the scare. There's no scare allowed. Not in this one. No. And all the men had to be assholes. All the men had to be weak. All the men had to be victims, but also the perpetrators of the crime. And when I mean victims, I mean needing to be rescued. And they went with the whole marketing campaign of girl power, woman power, you know. Yay, female Ghostbusters, girl power. Urgh. No. Not at all. The hypocrisy in this, coming from one of the cast members as well, was just shocking. I mean, Leslie Jones is the one I'm talking about, and she specifically, when people were trolling her, some people were being dicks, and I don't advocate you be dick to anyone unless they're a dick to you first, but some people were being dicks. She's a person of colour, and they were calling her monkey, which, you know, is wrong, but you still get people doing it. Of course, she threatened to drop off of Twitter and then vanish for a short period of time, coming back, advocating violence towards other people when she was complaining to Twitter that other people were breaking their rules. So it's like what's good for one isn't for the other. This started off as a little mini review of two things and ended up into a rant about Ghostbusters 2016. Ghostbusters 2016 is the ultimate why did you bother choice for complaining about remakes. I was also not a fan of the Evil Dead re-envisioning. It just didn't push any of the buttons for me. I'm a big fan of the Evil Dead films. Huge fan of the Evil Dead films. Hello, beep. I'm a huge fan of Bruce Campbell, Sam Raimi in general. But when it comes to the remake of the Evil Dead, I was disappointed. Ash vs. Evil Dead was what brought it back for me. And if there's going to be like a meet-up between the Evil Dead cast from the remake and the originals, you know, I'd watch it. But no. The remakes, it's an obscenity to me. It just didn't push any buttons. It didn't make me think, wow, I'm enjoying this. I was like, is it over yet? Are we there yet? Is it the end? Long story short, if any of my subscribers have an original idea, Hollywood would really appreciate it. Anywho, I will sign off now, and I will chat to you guys another time.